The rain hammered the windows of the Amtrak train like it had a personal grudge against Seattle, turning the Puget Sound into a blurred watercolor of grays and blacks. Jordan Hayes clutched his coffee, the paper cup scalding his fingers through the sleeve as he stared out at the storm, willing it to drown the ache in his chest that 3 years hadn't touched. Then the door to his car slid open with a hiss, and a voice cut through the rumble. "That's my seat." Jordan looked up, and the world tilted. The stranger's smile hit him like a freight train, warm and crooked, the exact echo of marks that used to light up their tiny Capitol Hill apartment. Jordan's breath caught, his heart slamming against his ribs as if it recognized the ghost before his brain could catch up. The man was taller than Mark had been, broader in the shoulders, with a jawline sharpened by stubble and eyes the color of aged whiskey, hazel, flecked with gold. But that smile, oh God, it was Mark's, the one that crinkled the corners just so, the one that had coaxed Jordan out of his shell after one too many bad dates in their college days at UW. He was dressed in a rumpled trench coat, water beading on the fabric like diamonds, a leather satchel slung over one shoulder. "Sorry," the stranger said, his voice low and rough, like gravel under tires. "Assigned seats and all that. Mind if I?" He gestured vaguely, already half sitting, as if the universe had conspired to plop him right there. Jordan nodded numbly, sliding his backpack under the seat with hands that trembled just enough to betray him. Up close, the resemblance fractured. The stranger's hair was darker, threaded with premature silver at the temples, and there was a scar, faint and white, slicing through his left eyebrow. Not Mark. Of course not Mark. Mark was gone, ashes scattered in the Cascades under a sky as merciless as this one. But the proximity clawed at Jordan anyway, stirring the grief he'd buried under freelance deadlines and therapy sessions. "No problem," Jordan managed, forcing a smile that felt like cracking ice. "I'm Jordan." The train lurched forward, the conductor's voice crackling over the speakers about delays due to the downpour, but Jordan barely heard it. The stranger extended a hand, calloused and warm, enveloping Jordan's in a grip that lingered a beat too long. "Ethan," he replied, settling in with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "Ethan Riley. Heading to Portland for?" "Well, escaping the rain mostly." His laugh was self-deprecating, a rumble that vibrated through the armrest they now shared. Jordan studied him sidelong, the way Ethan's fingers drummed an absent rhythm on his knee, the faint scent of sandalwood cologne cutting through the stale train air. It was uncanny, this pull, like staring into a funhouse mirror where the reflection had aged differently, lived a parallel life. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Ethan said suddenly, turning those hazel eyes on him full force. Jordan flinched, heat rising in his cheeks. Was he that transparent? 3 years of practice hiding the raw edges, and one smile undid it all. "Just the weather," Jordan lied, turning back to the window where rain-streaked evergreens whipped by like accusations. But Ethan didn't drop it, his gaze lingering with a curiosity that bordered on concern. They fell into small talk then, the kind that trains force upon strangers. "Where are you from? What do you do?" Jordan mentioned his graphic design gig, the freelance trap that kept him tethered to Seattle but free enough to breathe. Ethan was a journalist, he said, freelancing for outlets that paid in exposure and regret, chasing stories from the Midwest to the West Coast. "This one's about urban renewal in Portland," Ethan explained, pulling a notebook from his satchel, pages curled at the edges. "How the city's gentrifying itself into oblivion, pushing out the artists and the queers who made it beat." The word hung there, casual as the rain outside, but it landed like a spark on dry tinder. Jordan's pulse quickened. Ethan had clocked him, or at least guessed, from the rainbow pin on his backpack or the way he carried himself, shoulders squared against invisible blows. It wasn't fear that twisted in Jordan's gut, not after Mark's illness had stripped him bare in hospital waiting rooms where nurses averted their eyes. No, it was the vulnerability of being seen, truly seen, by someone who looked like loss wearing a stranger's skin. "Yeah," Jordan said, voice steadier than he felt. "I've designed posters for a few queer arts collectives up north. Fighting the good fight, one pixel at a time." Ethan's smile returned, softer this time, and Jordan's heart stuttered again, not stopped, but tripped, like a wire pulled taut. As the train rattled south, the storm easing into a drizzle that mirrored Jordan's mood, their conversation deepened without warning. Ethan shared a story about covering a pride rally in Chicago last summer, the electric hum of the crowd clashing with counter-protesters' megaphones spewing bile. "I got shoved into a dumpster," he admitted with a grin, rubbing his scar absently. "Worth it, though. Saw a kid, maybe 16, come out to his mom's right there in the street. Tears and hugs and all." Jordan leaned in despite himself, the ache in his chest shifting from sharp to something warmer, almost hopeful. He hadn't talked like this since Mark, not with anyone who got it without a glossary of terms. "Mark, my husband. He was the activist," Jordan found himself saying, the name slipping out like a confession. "Led marches, fundraisers. Died 3 years ago. Cancer." The silence that followed was heavy, but not unkind. Ethan's hand hovered near Jordan's on the armrest, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat. "I'm sorry," he said simply, and there was a rawness in it, an echo of his own buried pain. "That kind of loss, it rewires you, doesn't it? Leaves you wondering if you'll ever fit back into your own skin." Jordan nodded, throat tight, surprised at how easily the words flowed. They talked about Mark then, in fragments, like puzzle pieces Jordan hadn't dared touch. The way he'd burn dinner but make up for it with bad karaoke, the quiet nights planning a future that cancer stole. Ethan listened, really listened, his questions gentle probes that unearthed memories Jordan thought he'd armored away. By the time the train pulled into Portland's Union Station, the sky had cracked open to a watery sunset, painting the platform in hues of orange and pink. Jordan's legs felt unsteady as he stood, the hours of proximity leaving him unmoored. "Hey," Ethan said, slinging his satchel over his shoulder. "I'm grabbing coffee at that spot across the street, Powell's Books Cafe. Join me? My treat for stealing your emotional real estate." It was a joke, light as fog, but Jordan's laugh bubbled up genuine, surprising them both. He should say no, head straight to his hotel, bury himself in conference prep, avoid this magnetic pull that felt too much like betrayal. But the alternative was a night alone with ghosts, and suddenly, that seemed unbearable. "Yeah," he said, heart kicking up again. "Lead the way." The cafe buzzed with the after-work crowd, hipsters nursing lattes amid stacks of bestsellers, the air thick with espresso and ink. They claimed a corner table by the window, the city lights flickering to life outside like hesitant fireflies. Ethan ordered black coffee, strong enough to strip paint, while Jordan stuck to his chamomile tea. Calming, he told himself, though nothing about this evening felt calm. As they settled, Ethan pulled out his notebook again, but instead of urban decay, he sketched idly. Quick lines that captured the curve of a barista's smile, the slant of rain on glass. "Habit," he explained when Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Keeps the stories from spilling out my ears." Jordan watched, mesmerized by the sure strokes, the way Ethan's brow furrowed in concentration. It was intimate, this witnessing, like peeking behind a curtain. Their talk meandered from Mark's legacy to Ethan's nomadic life. The divorces that weren't quite divorces, the family back in Ohio who'd stopped calling after he came out at 35, a decade too late for grace. "My brother's the golden child," Ethan said, voice laced with old bitterness. "Straight as an arrow, 2 kids, the whole picket fence. Me? I'm the black sheep who writes about floods and forgotten towns." Jordan caught the plural, brothers, and filed it away, a loose thread in the tapestry of this stranger who felt less strange by the minute. He shared his own family fracture. Parents in Tacoma who'd loved Mark like a son until the end, then faded into awkward holiday cards, their silence louder than sermons. "They mean well," Jordan said, tracing the rim of his mug. "But good intentions don't fill the quiet." Night deepened, the cafe emptying around them, but neither moved to leave. Ethan's knee brushed Jordan's under the table once, twice, accidental, then not, and the air thickened with unspoken possibility. Jordan's mind raced. Guilt, sharp as broken glass, warring with a spark he hadn't felt since Mark's laugh filled their home. Was this grief's cruel joke, or something braver? Ethan's eyes held his, searching, and for a moment, Jordan saw his own reflection there, wary, wounded, but alive. "You know," Ethan murmured, leaning in, "you have the kindest eyes I've seen in years. like they hold storms but promise rainbows. Jordan's breath hitched, the compliment landing soft as a touch. He wanted to bolt, to preserve the fragile peace of solitude, but Ethan's hand covered his thin, thumb tracing a circle on his knuckles, and Jordan stayed. The conference hotel loomed a few blocks away, but Jordan suggested a walk along the Willamette instead, the river's dark flow a mirror to his turmoil. Portland's bridges arched like veins under street lamp glow, joggers and dogwalkers weaving past like extras in their private scene. Ethan matched his stride, their shoulders bumping in the chill, and Jordan found himself talking about the little things. The way Mark's cologne still lingered in his closet, the half-finished quilt on the sewing machine gathering dust. "I can't touch it," he admitted, voice cracking. "Feels like erasing him." Ethan stopped under the steel bridge, turning Jordan to face him, the city hum fading to a distant roar. "It's not erasure," he said fiercely. "It's evolution. He wouldn't want you frozen, Jordan. He'd want you to burn bright again." The words pierced, true and terrifying, and Jordan surged forward without thinking, pressing his lips to Ethan's in a kiss that tasted of coffee and rain and reckless hope. It was brief, electric, a spark that lit the dry tinder of his soul, but Ethan pulled back first, eyes wide with something like awe. "Whoa," he breathed, a grin breaking through. Not complaining, but, "Are you sure?" Jordan wasn't, not entirely, but the doubt felt small against the rush. They walked on, hands brushing, the tension coiling like a spring. Back at the hotel, Jordan hesitated at the revolving doors, the lobby's warmth spilling out invitingly. "My room's on 5, he said, the invitation hanging fragile. Ethan searched his face, then nodded, following him up in silence broken only by the elevator's ding. In the room, with its generic art and king bed mocking Jordan's solitude, they didn't rush. Ethan kicked off his shoes, sank onto the edge of the mattress, and pulled Jordan down beside him. They talked more, about fears, about what came next, until words gave way to closeness, arms around shoulders, heads on chests, listening to heartbeats sink in the dark. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with Mark's smile morphing into Ethan's, guilt chasing desire through shadowed forests. Morning light filtered through curtains, and Jordan woke to Ethan brewing coffee from the in-room pot, humming an off-key tune that sounded suspiciously like Mark's favorite Springsteen ballad. "Breakfast?" Ethan asked, handing him a mug, his hair tousled, scar catching the sun. Jordan smiled, real this time, and nodded. The conference awaited, but so did this, whatever it was, fragile as first light. The day blurred into panels and networking, Jordan sketching logos for queer nonprofits while his mind wandered to Ethan, who texted sporadically. A photo of Powell's rare books section, a quip about a panel on media bias. By evening, they met at a brew pub in the Pearl District, craft beers and pub grub amid exposed brick and fairy lights. Laughter flowed easier now, stories piling like bricks in a wall against the world. But as the night wore on, Ethan's phone buzzed insistently, a call he silenced twice before excusing himself to the alley out back. Jordan watched from the window, unease prickling. When Ethan returned, his face was drawn, jaw tight. "Family drama," he muttered, waving it off. "Nothing new." Jordan pressed, gentle but insistent, and the dam cracked. Ethan confessed his brother, Ryan, the golden child, had reached out after years of radio silence, begging for a loan to cover medical bills for his youngest. "He disowned me when I came out," Ethan said, voice hollow. "Called it a phase, said I'd burn in hell. Now he needs money, and suddenly I'm family again." The hypocrisy stung, a fresh wound on old scars, and Jordan's heart ached with recognition. His own parents had danced that line, supportive in whispers, distant in truth, leaving him to grieve Mark alone amid sideways glances from extended kin. "You're more than their safety net," Jordan said, covering Ethan's hand with his own. "You're the story they couldn't write." They left the pub arm in arm, weaving through Portland's nightlife, the city's pulse thrumming with possibility. At a quiet park bench overlooking the river, Ethan leaned his head on Jordan's shoulder, vulnerability cracking his journalist's armor. "I envy you and Mark," he admitted. "That kind of love, unapologetic. I hid mine for years, dated women to keep the peace. Lost a good man because of it." The revelation hung, heavy with regret, and Jordan tilted Ethan's chin up, kissing him slow and sure under the stars. It was absolution, or the start of it. Two men piecing themselves from fragments. But dawn brought shadows. Jordan's phone lit up with a text from his best friend, Lila, a fierce lesbian attorney back in Seattle. Conference hookup? Be careful, Jay. Grief makes us stupid. She meant well, her protectiveness a shield forged in their shared pride parades and hospital vigils, but it rankled. Ethan, meanwhile, fielded another call from Ryan, voice rising in the hotel hallway. Accusations of selfishness, pleas laced with guilt. Jordan overheard snippets. You're all we've got left since Mom. The call ended abruptly. Ethan slamming back into the room, face thunderous. He thinks because I'm lifestyle different, I owe him, he spat, pacing. Jordan reached for him, but Ethan shrugged away, the rejection a slap. I can't do this, Jordan. Not with baggage like mine dragging you down. The words landed like blows, echoing Jordan's deepest fear, that he'd never be whole enough for love again. He stormed out, conference badge forgotten, wandering Portland's streets in a haze of hurt. Hours later, at a coffee shop near the waterfront, his phone buzzed. Ethan's text, raw and unfiltered. I'm sorry. Running is my default. But you're the plot twist I didn't see coming. Jordan's thumb hovered, tears blurring the screen. Forgiveness warred with caution, the widower's caution that had kept him safe but small. He typed back, meet me at the bridge. We talk, or we walk. Ethan arrived breathless, coat flapping like wings, eyes red-rimmed. They stood rail to rail, the Willamette churning below, spilling truths in the gathering dusk. Ethan unpacked his past. The man he'd loved, David, lost to a car wreck after Ethan chickened out on coming out publicly. The family therapy sessions that ended in slammed doors. The journalism that became his escape hatch. Jordan listened, then shared his own abyss. The nights he'd screamed at empty rooms. The therapy breakthroughs that felt like failures. The quiet terror of loving again only to lose. Mark's ghost isn't the problem, Jordan said, voice breaking. It's mine. Ethan pulled him close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling. Then let's haunt each other, he whispered. Build something new from the ruins. Relief flooded, tentative as spring thaw, and they kissed there on the bridge, the city indifferent witness. But Portland's magic was fleeting. The conference's final day dawned with a keynote on queer resilience. Jordan in the front row, Ethan's hand warm in his lap. Whispers rippled, colleagues eyeing the stranger at his side, judgments veiled as curiosity. Who's the guy? A designer buddy asked later, tone laced with that old Seattle chill. Jordan bristled, introducing Ethan with pride that felt revolutionary. Yet doubt niggled. Was this real, or Rebound's cruel mirage? The real storm hit that afternoon. Ethan vanished during a workshop, phoned straight to voicemail. Jordan's texts piled unanswered, panic rising like bile. He searched the hotel, the bookstore, the river path. Nothing. By evening, desperation clawed. He called Lila, voice shaking. He bailed. Just like that. Her advice was sharp. Protect your heart. Jay, some people are bridges, not homes. Alone in his room, Jordan unpacked his suitcase, Mark's old scarf tumbling out like an omen, while soft with memory. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, grief's old friend crashing the party. A knock shattered the silence. Ethan, disheveled, eyes haunted. I had to take the call, he gasped, collapsing onto the bed. Ryan's kid, leukemia. They need the money now, or... The pieces clicked. Ethan's pacing, the slammed door. He'd wired funds from an emergency account, then driven to the station for a last-minute train home, only to turn back at the platform's edge. I couldn't leave without you, he said, gripping Jordan's hands. But my family's poison, homophobic, clinging, everything I ran from. They'll taint this. Jordan's heart twisted, recognition of his own kin's subtle barbs, the holidays where Mark was that friend. We face it together, he said, fierce. Or not at all. They didn't sleep that night, plotting like generals. Ethan would confront Ryan, set boundaries with steel. Jordan would loop in Lila for legal armor against emotional blackmail. Dawn found them tangled in sheets. Not lovers yet, but allies, the line blurring soft. The train ride back to Seattle was quieter, hands linked across seats, the landscape unspooling like a promise. At the station, Ethan's goodbye kiss lingered, tasting of futures. Call me when you land in Ohio, Jordan murmured. And come back. Ethan nodded, smile crooked as ever. Count on it. Weeks blurred into a rhythm Jordan hadn't known he craved. Late-night calls with Ethan amid hospital lulls, texts peppered with David's old jokes repurposed, video chats where Ethan's silver hair caught lamplight like stars. Jordan threw himself into work, designing a campaign for a Seattle LGBTQ youth shelter, Mark's spirit in every bold color. But shadows loomed. Ryan's emails, dripping manipulation, family sticks together, Ethan. Remember that, and Jordan's parents' invite to Thanksgiving, laced with unspoken expectations. Bring a date, his mom asked, voice hopeful yet hesitant. Jordan's stomach nodded, revealing Ethan meant risking the fragile bridge they'd rebuilt. The breaking point came mid-November, rain lashing Seattle like old grudges. Ethan flew in unannounced, landing at Jordan's door with a duffel and a haunted gaze. Ryan cornered me at the hospital, he said, voice raw. Told the kid about me, said Uncle Ethan's unnatural, that it'll rub off. The boy's scared now, Jordan. Of me. Rage boiled in Jordan, hot and righteous. Echoes of Mark's chemo days, when a nurse's sin comment had nearly broken them. He pulled Ethan inside, arms a fortress. That's not on you. It's their fear, poisoning the well. They paced the apartment, Mark's quilt finally dusted off and draped over the couch, a talisman against the storm. Lila arrived with wine and war plans, her no-nonsense vibe a bomb. File a cease and desist if they escalate, she advised, eyes flashing. And Jordan, tell your folks. Rip the Band-Aid. Ethan balked. Years of hiding had carved deep grooves, but Jordan's steady gaze anchored him. We're worth the fight, Jordan said. The call to Ohio was brutal. Ethan's voice steel as he laid down lines. No more lies to the kid, no more using faith as a weapon, or the money dries up. Ryan's sobs echoed through the speaker, accusations flying. You've always been selfish, turning your back on blood. But Ethan held Jordan's hand in his a lifeline. Thanksgiving dawned crisp, Jordan's childhood home in Tacoma strung with lights that felt like interrogations. His parents greeted Ethan warmly enough. Hugs, pie, small talk about journalism, but undercurrents swirled. Dad's averted eyes during talk of pride events. Moms, we're so glad you're moving on. That landed like pity. At the table, with turkeys steaming and football droning, the dam burst. Dad cleared his throat. Ethan, son, we admire your choices, but have you thought about settling down proper? Kids, maybe. The room iced over, forks clinking like accusations. Ethan's laugh was bitter. Proper? Like pretending? I loved a man once, lost him to my own cowardice. Won't do that again. Silence stretched, taut as wire, until Jordan spoke, voice even. Dad, this is proper. Ethan's my partner. Love doesn't need a script. Tears welled in Mom's eyes, Dad's face crumpling. Not rejection, but reckoning. We failed you, he admitted, voice thick. After Mark, we didn't know how to reach. Apologies flowed then, halting and real, the family fracturing open to heal. Back in Seattle that night, snow dusting the sound like forgiveness, Ethan and Jordan stood on the balcony, breaths fogging the air. You did that, Ethan whispered, pulling him close. Gave me courage I didn't have. Jordan smiled, Mark's echo fading to harmony. We did. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a secret kept too long. Cherry blossoms rioting pink against evergreens, the city shedding winter's skin. Jordan and Ethan's rhythm solidified. Shared mornings with coffee and sketches, evenings where Ethan's stories fueled Jordan's designs, a queer arts expo in May their first joint venture. But undercurrents stirred, Ryan's silence shattered by a letter, postmarked Ohio, words scrawled in a child's hand. Uncle Ethan, sorry I was scared. Dad says you're brave. Can we meet? Attached, a drawing, 2 stick figures under a rainbow, one with a scar. Ethan's hands shook as he read, tears carving tracks. Redemption, he murmured. For all of us. The visit to Ohio was a gauntlet. Airport hugs from a nephew wide-eyed with wonder, Ryan's handshake tentative but firm, Mom Riley's pie laced with unspoken amends. Prejudices lingered, whispers at church potlucks, but cracks showed. Ryan's quiet admission of therapy, the family's first pride flag fluttering tentative on the porch. Jordan watched Ethan bloom, the silver in his hair catching sun like wisdom earned. Back west, they adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy mutt named Ghost, fittingly, its wags chasing shadows from their home. Summer solstice brought the climax Jordan never saw coming. At a beach bonfire near Olympia, waves crashing like applause, Ethan dropped to one knee amid fireflies and friends. "Jordan Hayes," he said, ring glinting, simple gold, engraved with plot twist, "you rewrote my ending. Marry me." Laughter and cheers erupted, Lila whooping loudest, but Jordan's yes was a whisper, heart full to bursting. Mark's spirit danced in the flames, approving, as they kissed salt-tanged and sure. Years later, in a life stitched from scars and stars, Jordan would look back on that train seat, the theft that gifted him everything. Love, he'd learn, wasn't replacement but resurrection. Two souls, bent but unbroken, forging paths through prejudice's thorns. And in Ethan's smile, crooked as fate, he'd find home. The bonfire's embers glowed like dying stars as Jordan and Ethan lingered on the beach, the Pacific's roar a lullaby against their racing hearts. Friends had dispersed hours ago, tents dotting the dunes like nomadic dreams, but the two men stayed, toes buried in cool sand, Ethan's head on Jordan's shoulder. The proposal ring felt foreign, yet right on Jordan's finger, a weight that grounded rather than burdened. "Scared?" Ethan asked, voice muffled against Jordan's neck. Jordan chuckled, low and honest. "Terrified, but the good kind, like jumping off a cliff and finding wings." Ethan's laugh vibrated through him, familiar now, a sound Jordan had come to crave like morning light. They talked late into the night, plans unfurling like sails. A small ceremony at Discovery Park, overlooking the sound where Mark's ashes had mingled with the tide, vows written in their own ink, no priests or pomp, just Lila officiating with her trademark wit. But beneath the joy, old ghosts stirred. Jordan's therapy sessions had unearthed a fear of permanence, the dread that happiness was alone, callable at whim. Ethan sensed it, his thumb tracing Jordan's knuckles. "We'll take it slow," he promised. "Build it brick by brick, no rushing the foundation." Jordan nodded, gratitude swelling, but sleep evaded them, the ocean's cadence whispering doubts. Morning broke misty, the group rousing for coffee and kayaks, Lila cornering Jordan by the fire pit. "That rock suits you," she teased, eyeing the ring, but her gaze sharpened. "You okay? Really?" Jordan hesitated. Lila knew his tells, the way his jaw tightened like a spring. "It's Mark," he admitted. "Feels like I'm closing the book too soon." She squeezed his arm, fierce. "Books don't close, Jay. They evolve. Mark would high-five you for this." Her words landed solid, a buoy in choppy waters, and Jordan hugged her tight, the sister he'd chosen over blood. The drive back to Seattle wound through Olympics foothills, Ethan at the wheel of his battered Subaru, radio humming indie folk that spoke of lost loves reclaimed. Jordan watched him sidelong, the scar's white line, the silver threads weaving gold in sunlight, and marveled at the twist of fate that had seated them together. "What if you'd taken another car?" he mused aloud. Ethan grinned, crooked as ever. "Then I'd have missed my plot twist." "You." Affection warmed Jordan's chest, chasing chill, but his phone buzzed, a voicemail from his dad, voice gruff. "Heard about the engagement. Proud of you, son. Bring him to Tacoma soon. Progress, incremental as tides, but real." Work swallowed the next weeks, Jordan's freelance load spiking with a queer film festival brief, posters pulsing with color, symbols of resilience that echoed his own arc. Ethan dove into a series on rural LGBTQ safe houses, road tripping through Idaho's panhandle, calls crackling with stories of hidden lives. "Met a trans farmer today," he shared one night. Jordan chopping veggies for stir-fry in their shared kitchen. Ethan's lease surrendered, boxes unpacked amid laughter and minor disasters. Runs a co-op, fights county bigots with heirloom tomatoes. Jordan smiled, plating food, but fatigue tugged. The wedding loomed in July. Invites pending, and anxiety nipped at heels. The first real conflict erupted over guest lists. Jordan's family was small. Parents, an aunt who'd toasted Mark at their commitment ceremony, cousins polite but peripheral. Ethan's, A minefield. Ryan's inclusion sparked the row, Ethan pacing their living room, Ghost whining at his feet. He's trying, Jordan. The kid adores me. Mom's baking rainbow cookies, for God's sake. Jordan leaned against the counter, arms crossed, old wounds flaring. Trying isn't enough. He hurt you, called you unnatural. What if he pulls that at our wedding? Ethan's face hardened, hazel eyes storming. And what if we shut him out forever? Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's power. Voices rose, words like shrapnel, stubborn, naive, until Ethan stormed to the balcony, doors slamming echo. Jordan sank to the floor, head in hands, guilt crashing. He'd promised solidarity, yet here he was, dictating terms like the prejudices he'd fought. Ghost nudged his knee, wet nose a plea, and Jordan scratched the mutt's ears, tears pricking. Hours ticked. Ethan returned at midnight, sliding beside him on the couch, silent offering of a blanket. I'm sorry, they said in unison, then laughed, tension fracturing. Ethan pulled him close. Ryan stays home. You're right. Our day, our rules. Relief mingled with sorrow, the cost of boundaries a quiet ache, but Jordan kissed his temple. We choose our family now. Invites went out refined. Lila and her wife headlining. Seattle's queer creatives filling seats. Ohio represented by Ethan's mom alone, her acceptance email dotted with emojis, tentative bridges. Preparations hummed. Suit fittings where Ethan fidgeted like a kid, Jordan's mom sewing boutonnieres from garden blooms. But a shadow fell in June. News from Ohio, Ryan's relapse into old rants, pressuring his mom to skip the wedding. Says it's a mockery, she relayed tearfully over speakerphone. Ethan's jaw clenched, but he rallied. Let him. We'll dance twice as hard. Jordan admired the steel, yet worry gnawed. Would this poison seep into their joy? The rehearsal dinner at a waterfront bistro was a bomb. Laughter cascading like champagne, Lila toasting with barbs that drew guffaws. Ethan's mom shyly gifting a quilt square embroidered with their initials. Jordan caught her eye across the table, her nod a seal of approval, and something loosened in his chest. Mark's memory honored, not overshadowed. That night, alone in their bed, Ethan traced Jordan's ring finger. Happy? He asked, vulnerability peaking. Jordan pulled him atop, kisses deepening. Beyond. You. Ethan's grin was answer, bodies aligning in wordless vow. Wedding day dawned flawless. Puget Sound glittering under July sun. Discovery Park's meadows blooming wild. Jordan dressed in their apartment, mirror reflecting a man reborn. Charcoal suit tailored sharp, eyes bright with nerves and love. Lila arrived to walk him down the path, arm looped, whispering, You look like victory. Guests milled, 200 souls in rainbow finery, banners fluttering, love wins, in Jordan's font. Ethan waited at the arbor, hazel eyes locking on Jordan's approach, smile blooming that crooked magic. Vows spilled heartfelt. Ethan's voice cracking on, I choose you, every twist, Jordan steady. You mended what I thought broken. The kiss sealed it, cheers erupting, but as rice rained, a figure detached from the crowd. Ryan, uninvited, face gaunt, eyes pleading. Ethan, he called, voice carrying. Gasps rippled, security hovered, but Ethan froze, Jordan's hand anchoring. Ryan approached slow, envelope extended. For you. From the kid, congrats. Inside, drawings and a note. Wish I could be there. Love, Uncle Ethan. Ryan met Ethan's gaze. I was wrong. Therapy's kicking my ass, but I'm trying. For real. Silence held. Then Ethan nodded, crisp. Prove it over time. Start with space. Ryan retreated, tail between legs, and the party surged on. Dancing till dusk, cakes smashed with glee. Moonrise found them on the bluff, suits rumpled, rings clinking toasts. Twist indeed, Jordan murmured, Ethan's arms encircling. Below, waves whispered benedictions, prejudices distant thunder. Love, they knew, was no fairy tale, laced with conflicts, misunderstandings etched deep, but theirs was forged in fire, resilient as the coast. And in each other's eyes, futures unfolded, endless as the sea. Autumn leaves carpeted Seattle's streets in fire, the city exhaling summer's heat into crisp renewal. Jordan and Ethan settled into marriage like slipping into a well-worn coat, comfortable yet exciting, routines laced with discovery. Mornings began with Ghost's enthusiastic greetings, coffee brewing as Ethan scanned headlines and Jordan sketched at the kitchen table, their home a sanctuary of exposed brick and bookshelves groaning under shared histories. Work thrived. Jordan's designs landed a national campaign for trans rights, bold graphics that sparked viral shares. Ethan's articles on climate refugees earned a byline in The Atlantic, his voice amplifying the marginalized. But harmony hid fractures. Ethan's mom visited in October, her warmth a balm, baking apple pies that filled the apartment with cinnamon ghosts of Ohio. Over tea, she confessed Ryan's struggles, therapy mandated after a DUI, whispers of divorce. He's lost, boys, she said, eyes pleading. Ethan stiffened, old resentments flaring. Not our job to save him. Jordan mediated, hand on Ethan's knee, but tension simmered, spilling into quiet nights where Ethan stared at ceilings, murmuring, "What if blood means more than choice?" Jordan held him then, whispering, "It means what we let it." Lila's holiday party brought levity, a decked-out loft in Belltown, queer icons mingling amid spiked eggnog and drag queens lip-syncing carols. Jordan laughed till his sides ached, Ethan's arm a constant anchor, but a colleague's offhand quip, "Lucky rebound, huh?" landed like a gut punch. Ethan overheard, face paling, and they slipped out early, cab ride silent as snow. Home, confrontation brewed. "Is that what they think?" Ethan demanded, pacing. "That I'm your pity prize?" Jordan recoiled, hurt mirroring. "No, you're my everything." But grief lingers, people project. Tears fell, apologies mending. But the seed of doubt sprouted, insecurities watered by sideways glances at gatherings, whispers of too soon. Winter gripped Seattle, gray skies mirroring moods. Jordan threw into a passion project, a graphic novel on queer widowhood, pages bleeding emotion, sketches of empty beds, phantom hands, rebirth in unexpected arms. Ethan read drafts by firelight, hazel eyes soft. "This is you," he said, tracing a panel of two men on a train. "Our origin." Pride swelled, but publishing rejection stung. Too niche, markets saturated, echoing societal dismissals of their love. Ethan rallied, connections yielding a small press offer, but the validation chase unearthed Jordan's core wound, feeling unseen, unloved in plain sight. Christmas in Tacoma tested resolves. Jordan's parents had evolved, Dad grilling Ethan on football, Mom gifting monogrammed throws, but undercurrents flowed. An uncle, deep in brandy, slurred, "Marriage is sacred, boys. Hope you're emulating the good parts." Laughter died. Ethan's grip tightened on his fork. Jordan intervened smooth. "Sacred's what we make it, Uncle Ted." Drive home was fraught, Ethan venting. "They tolerate, don't accept." Jordan nodded, weary. "Change takes generations. We plant seeds." But seeds needed tending, and Ethan's silence grew, calls to Ohio increasing, Ryan's voice pulling like gravity. New Year's dawned with resolve, a getaway to the San Juans, ferry slicing fog to Friday Harbor's charms. They hiked Lime Kill's ruins, history's bones underfoot, talking dreams, adopting, perhaps, or fostering, a cabin in the woods for riding retreats. Nights in the inn were tender, bodies mapping familiar terrains, but Ethan's phone buzzed insistent. "Ryan, crisis du jour, lost job, kids' school fees." "Go," Jordan urged, masking ache. "Family's not abandonment." Ethan left reluctant, promising quick return, but days stretched to a week, texts sparse. Jordan wandered islands alone, waves mocking isolation, Mark's scarf a talisman against loneliness. Ethan returned hollow-eyed, tales of chaos. Ryan's apartment eviction, nephew's confusion. "I can't fix him," he admitted, collapsing into Jordan's arms. "But leaving feels like failure." They sought counsel, Lila recommending couples therapy, a queer-affirming space downtown. Sessions peeled layers. Ethan's codependency rooted in childhood neglect, Jordan's control from loss's chaos. "You're not saving him," the therapist prompted Ethan. "You're modeling boundaries." Breakthroughs came slow, Ethan setting call limits, Jordan voicing needs without apology. Progress felt like climbing, slippery but upward. Spring teased with crocuses, but conflict crested in April. Ethan's mom called frantic. Ryan hospitalized. Suicide attempt after divorce finalized. He named you beneficiary, she sobbed. Said you're the strong one. Ethan flew east immediate. Jordan joining days later. Airport hug fierce. Ohio's flatlands felt alien. Hospital sterile and accusatory. Ryan lay pale. Tubes snaking. Eyes opening to Ethan's. Sorry, brother. Couldn't outrun it. Forged in fire. They talked raw. Ryan admitting bigotry's mask for his own buried shame. A college fling denied. I envied you, he whispered. Living true. Ethan forgave, cautious. Jordan witnessing the mending. Back home, the ordeal bonded them deeper, but scars itched. Jordan's novel launched to acclaim. Readings packed with tearful attendees, but a review stung. Sentimental, glossing queer pain for straight appeal. Self-doubt spiraled. Jordan withdrawing into sketches, Ethan coaxing him out. Your truth matters, he insisted, pulling Jordan to a pride planning meeting, volunteers buzzing with energy. There, amid rainbow flags and strategy, Jordan found footing, his voice amplifying others, pain transmuted to power. Summer solstice circled, anniversary approaching. They renewed under the same arbor, friends toasting growth. But a twist awaited. Ryan's recovery letter, inviting them to a family reunion. Neutral ground, therapy vetted. One step. Ethan said, Jordan nodding. Prejudices persisted. Awkward toasts, veiled questions. But nephew's hug, pure and unfiltered, cracked defenses. Love, Jordan realized, was contagion, spreading despite thorns, healing what it touched. As leaves turned again, their life wove richer. Foster certification pending, Ethan's book deal on queer journalism, Jordan's studio expanding. Doubts lingered, but softer, footnotes to joy. In Ethan's smile, Jordan saw eternity, not replacement, but continuum. Fall's palette deepened, Seattle's hills aflame with maple reds and gold, mirroring the warmth in Jordan and Ethan's home. Foster classes filled evenings, role plays on trauma, modules on cultural humility, their apartment stacked with manuals, Ghost eyeing the pile suspiciously. Think we'll be dads? Ethan asked one night, feet in Jordan's lap, fire crackling. Jordan grinned, massaging calves. If they survive our cooking. Laughter eased nerves, but vulnerability shadowed. Jordan's fear of failing where he'd succeeded in love, Ethan's guilt over Ryan's orbit pulling focus. The call came mid-October. A teen, Alexei, 16, non-binary, bounced from homes for acting out, code for being unapologetically queer in straight spaces. Placement temporary, but their hearts latched immediate. Alexei arrived wary, duffel clutched like armor, buzzed hair, and piercings glinting, eyes scanning for exits. Nice dog, they muttered, kneeling to scratch Ghost's ears. Dinner was stilted, pasta boiling over as Ethan probed gently, Jordan passing bread. We get it, Jordan said. The system's a meat grinder. We're in your corner. Alexei's scoff hid spark. Prove it. Integration was trial by fire. Alexei's mood swung. Silence at breakfast. Outbursts over curfews. You don't get dysphoria's hell. Ethan absorbed, drawing from Ryan's chaos. Jordan channeled Mark's patience. Late-night talks over hot cocoa yielding glimpses. Runaway at 12, shelters cruelties. A binder hidden in their bag. School enrollment sparked clash. Counselors' concern over pronouns. Jordan storming the office with Lila's backup, policy citations flying. Victory tasted sweet. Alexei's quiet, thanks, a milestone. Thanksgiving tested expansion. Tacoma gathering included Ryan, flown west on Ethan's dime, kid in tow. Tensions simmered, dad's awkward jokes, Ryan's fidgeting, but nephew bridged, chattering about soccer, drawing Alexei into games. Around pie, Ryan raised glass. To chosen kin. Clink echoed progress, though Jordan caught Ethan's flinch, old wounds suppurating. Post-feast walk, brothers lagged, words low. Therapy's uncovering crap, Ryan admitted. Dad's homophobia? Inherited. Sorry doesn't cut it, but working on it. Ethan nodded, tentative thaw. Winter holidays amplified chaos. Alexei's first pride tree ornament, handmade with glitter and grit, hung proud. But Ryan's holiday card arrived laced with ask, job loss again, bridge loan. Ethan seethed, therapy homework burning. Boundaries, not bailouts. Call was curt, rejection firm, Ryan's plea twisting to blame. Always the favorite, huh? Hang up echoed, Ethan slamming cabinets, Jordan intervening with hugs. You're generous to fault, he soothed. Protect that. Alexei overheard, cornering Ethan later. Family sucks sometimes. Mine ghosted after transition talk. Build your own. Wisdom from youth, piercing. New year brought pivot. Alexei's social worker praising stability, extension granted. They celebrated with bonfire redux, beach winds whipping cheers. But Jordan's annual checkup unearthed shadow, elevated stress markers, therapist linking to unresolved grief. Mark's anniversary, she noted. February loomed, the date a specter. Ethan planned gentle, hike to Mark's scattering spot, picnic of favorites, sandwiches charred, beer cold. Trail up, words flowed, Jordan voicing survivor's guilt, Ethan sharing David's wreck anniversary, parallels binding. At Overlook, wind whipped, Jordan scattered wildflower seeds, growth from ash. Ethan's kiss sealed, healing incremental. Spring burgeoned with blooms and blows. Alexei's art bloomed, murals tagging alleys with queer icons, Jordan mentoring strokes. But school bully incident escalated. Slur-scrawled locker, fight ensuing, suspension for both. Jordan and Ethan tag-teamed principal, Lila filing complaint, but Alexei withdrew, binder discarded in defeat. Nights, Jordan sat vigil, Ethan brewing tea. World's brutal, Alexei whispered. Worth fighting, Jordan cupped their face. Every day, you're proof. Rally followed, community march, Alexei chanting loud, spark reignited. Ethan's book tour kicked off May, coast calling, leaving Jordan helming homefront. Call sustained, but distance gnawed. Alexei's prom dilemma, tucks her gown. Jordan navigated solo, affirming choice. Return brought tales, readings in NYC's queer bookstores, fans sharing stories mirroring theirs. But luggage hid gift, adoption papers, prepped. If you're ready, Ethan said, kneeling casual. Jordan's yes was tear-choked, Alexei's hug crushing. Lawyer meetings ensued, home study invasive but affirming. Summer solstice marked 2 years wed, vow renewal intimate. Alexei ring-bearer, Lila officiating redux. But twist twisted, Ryan's wedding invite, his to a woman from therapy group, clean slate. Ethan wrestled, attend or abstain. Jordan advocated grace, show him your life's model. Ohio trip was layered. Ryan's vows earnest, kid flower girl, Ethan's toast measured, to new chapters, without erasing old. Post-ceremony, brothers walked gardens, Ryan admitting, your marriage? Goal. Envy that strength. Handshake solidified, prejudices peeling. Back, adoption hearing dawned nerve-wracking, judges' gaze probing, but testimonies shown, Lila's advocacy, Alexei's essay on found family. Gavel fell affirmative, names changed, Alexei Hayes Riley. Celebration erupted, cake smeared, ghost barking joy. Yet quiet moment later, Jordan confided Ethan. Scared I'll mess up dadhood. Ethan pulled close. We're winging it. Together. Fall circled, leaves falling like confetti, their trio solidifying. Alexei's senior year buzzed. College apps to RISD, art scholarships. But family ripple. Ryan's call, voice cracked. Kids asking about you. Can we visit? Ethan glanced Jordan, nod given. Seattle welcome was cautious, dinner tentative, but nephews awed Space Needle thought ice. Over games, stories bridged. Ryan sharing straight ally marches, Ethan nodding approval. Progress, not perfection. As winter whispered, Jordan reflected. Life's narrative, twists unending. Love's not endpoint, but journey. Through misunderstandings mended, stigmas shattered, hearts expanded. In Ethan's hazel gaze, Alexei's bold lines, he saw forever. Messy, miraculous. Winter's grip tightened, Seattle's skyline veiled in perpetual dusk, holiday lights twinkling defiant against the gloom. The Hayes Riley home pulsed with new rhythm. Alexei's college acceptances pinned to fridge, acceptance speech drafted for graduation, Ethan's book signing schedule taped beside. But beneath festivity, undercurrents swirled. Ryan's visit extended, couch surfing into awkward cohabitation, his presence a litmus for boundaries. Dinners devolved into debates. Ryan's church group pushing conversion light seminars. Ethan's rebuttals sharp. Love's not a fix, he snapped one night, plates clattering. Jordan mediated, Alexei absorbing wide-eyed. Blood or chosen? Who wins? Alexei's input cut through. Both, if they try. Wisdom born of foster limbo, now family anchor. Ryan softened, joining a PFLAG meeting Lila hosted, face paling at stories echoing his past barbs. Ignorance is hell's pavement, he muttered post-meet, Ethan clapping shoulder. Forgiveness's first fruits. Yet strain showed. Ethan's sleep fractured, nightmares of David's crash merging with Ryan's attempts. Jordan waking to soothe. Therapy doubled down, sessions unpacking codependency's claws. Your brothers, not saviors, counselor urged. Ethan exhaled, lighter. Graduation season bloomed May, auditorium electric with caps and cheers. Alexei crossed stage poised, diploma clutched, speech ringing. Family isn't given. It's fought for, flawed and fierce. Tears streaked Jordan's face, Ethan's grip bruising, Ryan applauding loudest from bleachers. Post-ceremony brunch buzzed, cousins mingling, Lila toasting, to Alexei, our revolution. But whisper reached Jordan, aunt's aside to mom. Lovely kid, despite the situation. Ears burning, Jordan confronted later, voice steel. Situation? That's our child. Aunt backpedaled, apology mumbled, but sting lingered, prejudice's persistence, familial veneer cracking. Summer scorched, Alexei's RISD prep packing frenzy, dorm lists, art supplies strewn. Drop-off drive east was epic, cross-country playlists, roadside diners, heart-to-hearts in motel stops. Providence welcomed vibrant, Alexei's dorm a riot of posters, Jordan's designs prominent. Goodbye hug crushed, tears mutual. Call weekly, Jordan choked. Alexei grinned, or I'll haunt you. Drive home hollowed, nest empty, Ethan and Jordan adrift in quiet. Just us, Ethan said, pulling Jordan to dance in kitchen, slow sway to old jazz. Rediscovery sparked, date nights reclaimed, hikes sans schedules, intimacy reignited sans interruptions. But void invited intrusion, Ryan's plea for relocation, Ohio job market tanked, fresh start near family. Ethan wavered, Jordan's caution flaring. Our family's us three, he stated. Negotiation ensued. Visits yes, residency no. Ryan relocated south to Portland, compromise bitter. He's trying, Ethan defended. Jordan nodded, but unease festered. Ryan's ally status untested, potential wedge. Fall semester flew, Alexei's updates vivid, studio critiques, queer collective joins. Jordan's novel sequel brewed, themes of expanded families. Ethan's podcast launch on marginalized voices gaining traction. Joint project emerged, documentary short on foster queer youth. Interviews raw, editing marathons yielding footage that gut-punched. Screening at local film fest drew crowds, Q&A emotional. Viewers sharing parallels, Ryan attending remote, feedback glowing. Eye-opener, bro. Thanksgiving sans Alexei innovated. Tacoma with video call insert, plates passed to screen. Ryan joined, Portland stop en route to family, dynamics shifting, dad engaging him on sports, mom quizzing recipes. Post-meal, brothers bonded over pie. Ryan opening on ex-wife's custody battle, bigotry's role. Losing her taught me, he said. Ethan listened, bridge strengthening. Winter holidays pivoted. Alexei homebound by blizzard, flights grounded, so virtual Yule with in-person twist. Ryan hosting Seattle layover. Kid FaceTiming antics. But storm's metaphor struck. Isolation's bite, connections strained by miles. Ethan proposed expansion, road trip spring break. Jordan agreed, anticipation warming chill. New year toasted changes. Alexei's internship snag resolved. Ryan's promotion celebrated. But Jordan's physical flagged, fatigue chronic, doc diagnosing burnout, prescribing sabbatical. Rest, Ethan insisted, planning cabin retreat in Cascades. Snowed-in days healed. Woodstove stories, sledding like kids, nights tangled in quilts. This, Jordan murmured, Ethan's heartbeat drum, is us. Rejuvenated, return sparked productivity. Jordan's manuscript finalized, Ethan's pitches landing. Spring break road trip materialized. Van loaded, Alexei shotgun, Ryan trailing in rental. Midwest meander, Chicago's art institutes, Nashville's queer bars, Bonds forging cross-country. Tensions flared minor, Ryan's gas station gaffe, Ferry, joke to clerk, Ethan's glare silencing, but nephew's mediation, uncle's cool, dad, diffused. Destination, Ohio family farm, reconciliation's hearth. Gathering was layered, grandma's hugs, cousin's curiosity, Ryan's toast, to family redefined. Awkward dances, but genuine. Summer simmered with milestones. Alexei's freshman showcase, Jordan and Ethan flying east, pride swelling at projections, queer futures visualized. Back, wedding anniversary hike echoed proposal beach, rings renewed in sand. But twist lurked. Ryan's call, voice urgent, kids struggling, school bullying. Advice. Ethan guided, Jordan contributing, allyship evolving. As leaves hinted turn, reflection deepened, life's plot, conflicts catalysts for growth. Misunderstandings mended, stigmas chipped, love's tapestry richer. In quiet moments, Jordan traced Ethan's scar, gratitude infinite. Autumn winds ushered change, Seattle's harbors mist-shrouded, mirroring the subtle shifts in the Hayes-Riley saga. Alexei's sophomore year dove deeper, major in illustration, minor in activism, weekends volunteering at youth centers. Calls home brimmed with fervor. Mentoring a kid like me, dads. It's everything. Jordan beamed, Ethan's pride vocal, but empty nest echoes persisted, prompting talks of expansion, another foster, or biological via surrogate. Options swirled, daunting yet desired. Ryan's Portland life stabilized, steady gig in nonprofits, therapy consistent, dating a widower tentatively. Visits normalized, monthly dinners, kids' soccer games where Ethan coached corners, Jordan designing team banners. But undercurrents bubbled, Ryan's new beau, cautious out, confiding fears of relapse. History haunts, he told Ethan over beers. Your marriage? North Star. Ethan shared vulnerabilities, brotherhood deepening, Jordan witnessing evolution's grace. Holiday circuit innovated. Thanksgiving tri-state, Tacoma start, Portland pivot, virtual, Ohio toast. Lila's bash followed, her pregnancy announcement stealing show, surrogate success, joy communal. Jordan's envy flickered brief, then morphed resolve. Clinic consults booked, fertility chats probing hopes. Ready? Ethan asked, hand clasped. Jordan nodded, heart full. With you always. Winter wrapped gentle, snow rare but welcome. Alexei's winter break brought chaos. Dorm laundry avalanche, tales of crushes and critiques. Family game night devolved into charades hilarity, Ryan guesting, his impressions earning groans. But post-lights out talk, Alexei confided. Boyfriend potential, nervous. Guidance flowed. Ethan's coming out war stories, Jordan's mark memories, affirmations toolkit. Pace your heart, Jordan advised. Alexei hugged tight. Learn from best. New Year resolution bold. Ethan's podcast expansion, live episodes from Pride events. Jordan's gallery show, Queer Widow series framed luminous. Prep overlapped, stress spiking, deadlines clashing, tempers flaring over studio clutter. Space. Ethan snapped one eve, retreating to balcony. Jordan followed, apologies air thick. We're creators, he soothed. Mess is medium. Reconciliation in bed, laughter reclaiming night. Spring surged with green shoots. Clinic news mixed, viable paths, costs steep, emotions steeper. Pause agreed, foster first, test waters. Placement swift, sibling duo, Miah and Leo, 8 and 10, ejected for parents' substance spiral. Arrival whirlwind, tiny tornadoes, suitcases stuffed bears. Alexei home for break, instant big sib, organizing fort builds. Ethan cooked kid-friendly, Jordan bedtime stories weaving magic. Nights, debriefs exhausted but elated. This is parenting, Ethan marveled. Summer solstice circled third anniversary, beach ritual evolved. Kids in tow, sandcastles queer flag topped. But conflict crested. Ryan's beau bailed, relapsed to isolation, call slurred, can't do this alone. Ethan flew south, Jordan minding brood, worry gnawing. Return brought report. Intervention staged, Ryan recommitted to groups. He's fragile, Ethan said, drained. Jordan held. So are we. Support, not shoulder all. Alexei's return east poignant. Sophomore slump hinted, major doubts. Art's starving artist trap? Video calls probed. Jordan sharing freelance trenches. Ethan pitching resilience tales. Visit planned. Fall foliage tour. RISD critique crash. Road there, heart-to-hearts hashed. Alexei's imposter syndrome. Parental echoes. You're trailblazing, Jordan affirmed. Campus tour inspired. Dinner with roommates, family bridging generations. Fall deepen bonds. Foster extension sought. Home study praising chaos management. Ryan's Thanksgiving solo invite accepted. Portland progressive, his circle inclusive. Table talk turned policy. Election fervor, queer rights ballot measures. Ryan advocated fierce, voted blue first time. For you all. Toast warmed, progress palpable. Winter holidays grand. Miah and Leo's wonder at lights. Alexei's flight snow delayed, but arriving bear-hugged. Extended fam converged. Tacoma tree trim, Ohio Zoom carols. Ryan's kid gifting handmade ornaments. Eve's toast, Ethan raised. To kin, blood, and beyond. Cheers rang true. New Year dawned surrogate scouting. Agencies vetted, matches pondered. But pivot. Miah and Leo's biomom rehab success. Reunification looming. Grief anticipatory. Kids questions piercing. Stay forever? Jordan knelt. Love's not ownership. We cheer your adventures. Transition plan gentle. Visits promised. Spring bloomed bittersweet. Farewells tearful. Park picnic last. Agency lauded. Next placement pending. Void echoed, but space invited. Surrogate match. Young artist kindred. Process launched. Ultrasound's future whispers. Summer's heat wave tested. Ethan's tour grueling. Jordan solo parenting interim foster. A shy trans teen. Bridging gaps. Reunion beach. Tales tumbled. Anniversary kiss salt sweet. As leaves whispered autumn, cycle turned. Empty again, but fuller. Love's narrative, endless chapters. Conflicts conquered, stigmas silenced. Family fluid, fierce.